So now for part 2, we're going to wire up the basic table click handling. Because remember, what we've done on the first one is we've just written the logic, the core logic to delete. Now we're going to start the process of actually calling that function based on the way it is in our table, which means we want to pass that on. Matter of fact, let's just look at it, right? That handle delete entry, and ultimately also the handle edit entry to the table renderer. Again, the idea of why we're putting it here, hopefully we've covered. Please ask if you're not sure why, but it's basically we're letting the thing that makes the most sense handle this particular functionality. So we're writing it here, but we run it from here. We call it from here. Because think about here, right? We're not actually, when does this code get called? Well, right now it's manually based on just the page load, which does not work ultimately for our UI, our user interface. We want it to be here ultimately, but for now we just want to start the process. So what do? So in this case, in our instructions, we're going to come back to a couple of things, but now we're going to actually update the render table call to include callback functions, the two that I just mentioned. And this is so important, the way I'm going to do this. So, as with everything, just make sure you are doing it the way I'm showing it so that and if you end up with it not working, reach out for help, please. All right, so now at this point, we're going to come back because there's more to do here. We need to do more. But now that we're actually calling the table renderer with the carbon footprint entries, there's some additional things we want to give to our module. Okay, our module needs some more things. And what does it need? It actually needs a reference to these two functions. So what we will do is pass them into our main, which is render table, right? So it's the one that's exposed, it's the exported one. So what we're calling carbon footprint, the reference here is to entries. So what we're going to do, and this is going to be a new pattern we have not seen in this class, we're going to add an argument to the table renderer. We're going to put comma, right? Because this is going to be our next argument that we're passing that will become a parameter inside of here. But what we're going to pass is going to be an object literal. We've already seen these object literals. So you can pass around pretty much anything in JavaScript, and actually in many languages, most languages. But what are we going to now pass? We're going to pass an object. So what do we know we need with an object? Keys and values. So the first key we'll say is on delete. That's what we've made up. That's what we're going to call it. But what it is a reference to handle delete entry. And because we're just passing a reference to this function, oh, wrong one. Oh, I'm glad I saw that. This is actually I'll end up handling it here. Oh, I'm so glad I saw that. Actually, where we're going to do it the first would be in here in the delete. Okay, but that actually foreshadows what I was talking about. We're going to end up needing to do this anywhere we now call render table. Okay, that's not inside, because we don't call, of course, render. Well, actually we kind of do, but you'll see in a minute what I mean by that. So even though I started to write it here, it's the same thing we're going to end up writing down here. So let's actually go to the right place and do it here. Okay, and we'll end up fixing the other one. So down here in handle delete entry, we'll set up that object literal. And on that, we're passing that object literal. And by the way, that object will be over in render table. We're going to call this callbacks. Okay, so we've modified now the call, and we'll do this again wherever we have called render table. But for now, what are we passing it? We're passing it a object literal that has on delete the key. Well, it references handle delete entry, and because it's an object literal, we give it a comma, we do the next one. So on. So we're going to go ahead and do both because we're going to ultimately end up needing both. So on edit, what are we going to do? We're going to handle. Now we haven't filled this out because this is going to be for later, but since we know we're going to need it, let's just go ahead and have it now. Okay, so this object, right, is going to become our callbacks. Now, there's something else we'll have to do over here in a minute, but for now, okay, I'm going to copy this, and now I'm going to do Control F. Now, you can manually go do this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to say how many render tables are there in here, in this file. I see the one I'm working on. And actually that is here. Good. So this is actually in a knit. Great. So I need to do the same thing here, comma, add that there. Okay. So I see it there. Oh, actually it's showing 4. Okay. So let's just hit, and if I hit enter here, it takes me to the next one. And this is the one I didn't complete. So let's do that one there as well. Good. Okay. And by the way, you can use these arrows, but if I go enter again, oh yeah, I have it here. So any place I have that render table call, I now have to include this because it's expecting it now. Okay, this is way important. This actually kind of messed me up when I was coding this because I didn't do this. So and I'm going to cycle through again. I'm going to make sure all of them have it. Yep. Is there any that don't? Looks like I got them all. So there was, in my case, there's 4. There should be in yours as well. Make sure they all get updated. Because anytime we call it, so in our app.js, we call that render table 4 times. And on each occurrence of it, we have to define, give it that object, logic literal, that has references to the handle delete and handle edit. And in our module for here, we're gonna reference that object literal as callbacks. Okay. Now, in our module, okay, and let's go to the top. Okay, and let's go under here. So, and I think I should, if I don't have this, I will include it in the documentation because we also, and this is something that we're going to set up a module level variable to make sure these callbacks references get set up correctly. We're going to say let underscore current callbacks equal, okay, an object. And we're just setting a object literal so that it gets so we make sure, because there's some timing issues here with the way we're doing this. So this is like you just have to check this box and do it. Okay, so make sure you've done it here. And so now that we've set that, and this is something I actually researched quite a bit, had many discussions, both with different chat bots and with folks I know about the best practice here. This is the robust way to pass callbacks to event listeners, because that's ultimately what we're going to do, right? We're going to end up setting up some event listeners here, and we're going to do this based on we're going to set that up, and then we're going to reference inside of them these callbacks. Okay. So now what we do is we come back down, or we come down to our in render. So now that we've done that, let's go to our in render. Okay. And in here, we can do this anywhere really, but I'm actually going to do it kind of right at the top. So what I'm going to do is say that reference, and when you see this underscore, that actually is a naming convention, okay, is going to be equal to. Now this does, I'm not doing a strictly equal, I'm just saying make this equal to whatever is your callbacks, whatever gets passed to you, okay. And so now that I've done that, now I can actually start wiring up. So I needed to put some things in place. I needed to set up that object literal. I need to place it on every occurrence in the app.js. In the table renderer, I need to set up a new variable that's in this case, it is a global variable because of where we're setting it up. But because we've done the underscore, that's a naming standard to say, hey, we're just going to set up an object literal that we then set its value to whatever the callbacks are, so that what we're about to do actually works. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to call footprint table body equals add an event listener. Okay, and that event listener is going to be on click. It's going to say on click. handle. Now we haven't written this particular function yet, but I'm just going to go ahead and reference it. On table click. Okay, so there's our reference. Okay, so now we have set up a reference inside of the module that says, hey, anytime the table is clicked, call this. Okay, now inside of here, and let's actually let's put it in order here. Doesn't, long as this gets done, now we can write the actually no, it does. Actually it does. And I was thinking about JavaScript and the way it does line by line. So if it tries to define it here, we need to have already set it up because of the way we're doing named functions. So I'm going to say const, so do put it above, handle table click, okay, is going to be equal to a function. And in this case, think about this. We've done this kind of thing where we've, on a click, what do we get? We get an event, right? Because this is the browser calling this function, and because it's the browser doing it, we know it's going to pass it a, right? Even though we don't see it because of the way it's written here, right? It's just going to be called once this happens. Once this happens, do this, call back. Again, this is a callback design pattern. See, this is a callback design pattern. So in here, what are we going to do? Now we're going to say const target is going to be equal to event, and we've actually seen this before. The event target. What are you clicking on? We'll say const, and we'll look at all these things to see why we need them. Target.dataset.id. Why do we need that? It's the unique identifier. Okay, and it comes. Oh, go back here, right? Okay. Now, what are we going to? There's another thing we need, and we'll talk about these. Action cell equal target.closest, and this is another new method. So it's looking at whatever the target was and saying, hey, find me its closest TD, its closest cell. Okay. So for now, let's just console log the target to see this in action before we actually call the callback. Okay, so we're going to set an event listener. It's going to call this. Now we haven't actually connected our callback yet. We've set our callback up. Our callbacks are our function calls inside of app.js. But now with just this, let's let this run. Okay. Now I should get rid of this stuff because we're going to get rid of that in a minute. So what I could do here, notice this is coming from the table renderer, and again, do this on your own to make sure your code's running. If I click here, so the closest TR, right? The closest TR here. And so here, oh, it's the button. And look at this, I get the ID as well. This is awesome. Okay. So right now I'm only looking at target, but we could look, we're going to use some of those other variables, but I'm just showing you what we did here is now we have, remember how we had that event listener on the doc and I got on the document on the init? This is now an event listener that's specific to just the table entries. And click around here so you get an idea of what this code is doing now. Because now we're going to actually call this handle. We're going to call this function, this handle delete entry. Yeah. Okay, this is what's cool about this, I think. So now we're going to say, okay, current callbacks, because that's our variable that we've set up that is a global to this module. We're going to say on, we're going to give it the key on delete, right, and pass it the ID. Now I didn't even look at but we'll actually see this now. So what this line will do is after we output the target, then this will say, oh, I have a reference to these callbacks, and that's a object literal. Specifically, I want to look at the key of on delete, and I'm going to call that function. I'm going to pass it the ID I have here. So good. Okay. Now the key would be here. Now that this would be based on which one I'm actually going to click on. Now it's going to be specific. Okay, so what do I have a breakpoint? I have a breakpoint. Let's take that off. Let's actually set a breakpoint here. Okay. I'm going to get rid of storage. Oh, do I have anything on here? I probably do because no, I don't. Okay. So now if I click here, I passed it, undefined. Why would that be undefined? Because the TD, in this case, does not have an ID on it. Now, how do I know that? Okay, if I right click and I hit inspect and I go down to the TD, oh yeah, that does not have the ID that I want, that I need this. So what do I need to click on? Well, in this case, if I clicked on the whole row, it's harder to do, but I could just click on what? I could click on, in this case, one of my buttons. So now let's actually do that. Go back to our source, and now let me let this run. Boom, and it said it couldn't find it, which would make sense, right? We didn't provide the ID, right? Was undefined, but if we click delete, now we have that unique ID, and now we actually can delete this particular one. And what should the index be? 0. When it finds it, it's going to go through each one. When it finds, it should have actually found it. Oh, actually, it looked through all of them. Yeah, 6. Was 6 the one I gave it? Oh, that's right. That's right, it wouldn't be 0 because this is, and actually, why is this true? It's listing the most recent ones first because of our sort. Oh, this is so good. There's so many pieces of our code that we've written and probably have already forgotten about, and I just did because I was thinking this would be, and actually this is the last entry because it's sorted by date. So now it found 6, and so now it's going to delete that one. So now it's going to go through, and now this one for me, June 18th, again, you do this on yours, because now it's calling the callbacks, it's set it up. I'm sorry, it's passing the callbacks, it's already run, and now we're actually just let's just let this run. Good, 18th is gone, index is done, and boom, we have done something which I think is really awesome, and wrap your head around it best you can. Come talk to me, come talk to one of the tutors to understand this pattern because it is so powerful what we're doing here. Because now we can now be specific and now we can know the difference between when the user clicks edit and delete, right? Because look at that. So there's ways, and we know when they hit delete. Now, by the way, right now, because we're doing this, we're going to delete that one. Okay. Yeah, that's the delete. So how do we then know which one the user clicked on? We don't have to have event listeners for them. Such a powerful thing. Okay, let's come back over here. I've been talking and not putting in some stuff. So this is I already put in these. Okay, so let's do this. So this is our store callbacks past so that table handle table click can access them. That's why we did this. Okay, we're doing that. We're wiring up. Okay, so what we're doing here is called event delegation. Okay, so this is a term. Let's see, which one did I grab? Wiring up the handling. This is it. Okay, and then event delegation. This is actually what we're doing. We're saying, hey, delegate this to for table actions, right? This single listener will handle all clicks on buttons, anything, which is really helpful. We don't have to write individual functions. We're going to handle this all in one. You'll see how we'll handle it. Take a couple of steps here, right? It's only attached once, right? Oh, I didn't grab that one. Okay. Good. We added the event listener. There we go. Okay, so the thing we didn't do, so it wouldn't take but a minute. So let's actually do this, where we write a little more code now back over here, because we've done this, but we actually haven't done something that's also important here, right? Because think about, and this actually we could simulate this idea. What if, and I'm going to take off all my breakpoints here. What if, I'm going to let this run. Okay, what if I was down to, let's hit delete, delete, delete. So now let's say if I delete this one, boom, there's nothing there, right? If I delete this one, there's nothing there. And what happens if I delete it, right? Then I'd want to re-render it, right? But I'd also want to hide. Have I written that code yet? No, I didn't. But we're going to write code just in case. It's one of these just in case things. So we're going to say if carbon footprint entries length triple equal to 0. Okay. So we're going to say result. So we'll say hide results. Oh, and clear the form. That's right. That's right. The call up here will handle the other one. This we actually just want to clear the form. Okay, so if, right? So that I was a little mistaken. Sorry about that. So this code that we just wrote will handle once we are in that situation, right? Okay. So once we're here and we delete, okay. Oh, actually, I've already written it. It's like, why isn't the result there? Because I already wrote the code. Okay. And in that case, because that's what we're doing here, once this logic is all run, we also want to go ahead and say reset. And you'll see these things come into more action the more things we do. We talked about this before, right? And we'll also, and actually I'm going to get rid of this right here. And we're also going to want to put it here. Okay. We're also going to want to put that same reset UI states here. Good. So that finishes up. I wanted to really finish up our delete entry so that we could now, once we start on the next one, actually continue to work on this, because all we've done here, which is awesome, right? But what we don't have here, and I'll show you what we're doing next, is, you know, like the confirmation right now, when you hit delete, boom, it's like you don't get a chance to think about it. Like over here, we get a chance, the user gets a chance to think about it. If they don't click, it reverts. Right here, none of that. None of that. Let's actually now do that, because that's a nice user interface to do. All right, let's see. What is the, let's do this. Okay, if that would be here. Okay. So if the table is now empty, do that. And then reset states if entry is not found. So this is true, right? So if it's not found, but we're just also going to do reset here. Okay, so now we can actually do, so the additional things here. So why do we need to use callbacks and modules? And then what is event delegation? So I've just touched on them today. Do a little more research. So here's your commit is wiring up the basic table click handling. And then we'll move on to 7.1 part 3.